Where are my Zelda games? Where is my F-Zero? Where is my Metroid Prime? Where have all the GameCube games gone? We, of course, had our big Nintendo Direct 2 days ago, and really, I think I left with more questions than answers from this presentation. Obviously, yesterday, I made a video talking about the whole Tears of the Kingdom situation. What is this game? When are they actually going to show this game? You've shown it 3 times, and I still don't know diddly poo about it, really. I'm not the type of person to look for little clues in the trailer and stuff like that, because to me, that's more of a spoiler than just actually showing me what you want to show me in a controlled setting. People are analyzing little things and stuff like that. Like, that's cool. I ain't got that kind of time, nor do I have the patience, but something was missing from this presentation. Something that we had been talking a lot about on this channel, the GameCube. What the hell happened to the GameCube remasters and GameCube games that were supposed to be coming to the Nintendo Switch? We ended up getting a GameCube game, Tales of Symphonia Remastered, which that's a great game. Do not get me wrong, I'm a fan of Tales of Symphonia. I remember playing that game back in the day with my buddy Rob, who stole it from our local Blockbuster. That was a night, that was a fun situation. But that was a really great game, but that wasn't what we were expecting. Now, obviously, I played into the hype a lot with this, but I was just relaying information that was out there, that insiders were giving us. People like Jeff Grubb and so on and so forth. And now a lot of people are mad at Jeff Grubb. And Jeff Grubb's a liar. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think there are lots of things that could have happened with this presentation to make these games not necessarily appear. It seems to be like there's 4 games in question, like I alluded to in my song, that were supposed to be there, that we were expecting to be there, and I want to talk about them in order from least likely to most likely, what happened and what could end up happening with this situation. So I think out of all the games, the F-Zero GX thing was probably the most puzzling to me. Well, yes, it's a low risk, high reward situation. You sort of get F-Zero back out there so you can see if people are, actually interested in the game and actually interested in the franchise, or if it's just a bunch of Twitter people talking about this game who aren't going to go support it. This was a game that came out on the GameCube. It ran at 60 frames per second. It was developed by Sega. So when I heard that this game was supposedly coming to the Switch with the remastered edition, it made sense to me. Now, it kind of doesn't make sense in one aspect, though, because Nintendo doesn't care about F-Zero. Like, there are some franchises that they just do not care about, and they're obviously putting a stronger emphasis on certain franchises more so than other franchises this generation, and it's just kind of is what it is. It seems like on certain generations they focus on certain titles, and this generation they don't seem to care about F-Zero. They haven't cared about F-Zero, I mean, since the GameCube, so this was kind of an outlier for me. It would have been something that, okay, if it happens, it's cool, but if it doesn't happen, that's okay. I'm not putting too much stock into it, but I would have liked to have seen them. The other 3 games, though, were something that, these were supposed to be home runs. These are supposed to be, just out of the stadium, out of the park, into the parking lot situations, and they didn't end up happening. A lot of people had egg on their face. I would say that I had some egg on my face because, I was hyping up these games. But like I said, really at the end of the day, unless a company is giving me a press release or I'm working with the company to do something exclusive, I'm just kind of a middleman. I'm a relayer. I'm a regurgitator. I'm someone who just looks at stuff and hypothesizes about it. I'm not necessarily saying that everything is factual when it comes to speculation related videos. And let's take a look at the Zelda games. Where are my Zelda games? Like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. If you would have told me bet $1,000 if those games are going to be at that presentation, I would have bet $1,000. That's how confident I was that they were going to be there, because it makes sense. Nintendo themselves have gone on record as saying, we want a Zelda game to come out every single year. And well, we didn't get a Zelda game this year for the Switch. I mean, I guess maybe you could talk about the N64 stuff, but really, we haven't gotten a Zelda game for the Nintendo Switch this year. We now know that Tears of the Kingdom isn't coming out until May, so this is going to be a long time between Zelda games. Now, that's not necessarily something different or an anomaly. Obviously, Zelda games take a long time to build up, but Nintendo themselves are the ones who said they wanted to release a Zelda game every year. These games are already available in HD format on the Wii U. Right now, they're pretty much stuck on the Wii U with the HD versions or the GameCube versions of the original games, as both of those games, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, did of course come out on the GameCube. But these HD versions, like, you don't have to do a lot of work with them. You really don't have to do a lot of work with them. The pricing thing, okay, maybe that's where things get a little bit weird, but you can't tell me that these versions of the games to bring over to the Nintendo Switch are harder or more taxing on individuals more so than Skyward Sword was, because Skyward Sword, you had to change the whole control system. You had to make the game in HD. Whereas this is just the port. I understand that ports do take work. You know, it's not just A to B situation where you can quickly go there, but this is something that should have been in development for quite a while now. Why wouldn't you want to have every mainline Zelda game that's not from a handheld system available on the Switch? Because when you look at it, you've got all your NES games or Super Nintendo games or N64 games. You got Skyward Sword. That was supposed to be the one where people were like, I don't know if they're going to bring that to the Switch. But they did. Yep, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, they're still just not there. And I could go down the whole rabbit hole situation of what is Nintendo actually doing with some of these games, because of the fact that, you know, remember when the 3DS closed up shop, they merged their handheld and their console division into one thing. This is a huge company. When you think about how many games used to come out when the 3DS was a relevant system, or even go back to the DS days, you know, the Wii and the DS were like a 1-2 punch, and those systems constantly had games coming out, first party games from Nintendo themselves. So what happened with the development cycle of these games to where we've now combined all of the systems, we've combined the workforces, yet games don't seem to be coming out at quite the same pace? But the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess situation, that baffled me, because if you would have said put $1,000 on it, I would have been like, all right, you know, bet I'll put $1,000 on this, they're going to be there, but they weren't there. And then of course we have the Metroid Prime Remaster. Out of all of the games that we talked about on this channel, this was going to be the most, you know, sort of taxing thing. This was going to be the thing that required the highest amount of work. Many people once again said that this was a lock for 2022, and the direct came and went, and there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing from this game. This is a game that you can actually trace back with like LinkedIn sources to Retro Studios and see that this game probably has been in development. There's so many people that have talked about this game. I know people that have actually seen this game, allegedly, but they are people that I trust. So it's like, what the hell happened to this game? Like, it seems like this game was ready to rock and roll. It seems like the situation is Metroid Prime 1 is getting like a full-on remaster, and then Prime 2 and 3 will at some point come to the Nintendo Switch. When you look at the holiday lineup for Nintendo, you've got games like Bayonetta, you've got Sparks of Hope, you've got the Pokemon game, but you're gonna sit there and tell me that a Wind Waker, a Twilight Princess couldn't have been slotted in for this? You don't have to talk about these games all that much. You're gonna tell me that a Metroid Prime that's supposedly done couldn't have been one of the holiday games? It doesn't have to be a main holiday game. You still have new stuff. But then you have all these GameCube games that are supposedly in development, supposedly already done, or at least close to completion, and then none of them showed up at this event. So it leaves me thinking to myself, it's one of two things, really. Either these games don't exist, and maybe that's the situation here. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe these games truly don't exist, even though people have seen them. Maybe they were supposed to come out, and people were going to release them, and these were going to be games, but then for whatever reason, Nintendo decided, you know, we don't want to give people too many games. You know, we don't want to give them too many games that they can play, so we're not going to do these games anymore. We're going to scratch that, because, I mean, what the hell has Retro Studios been working on? Okay, what have they been working on before Metroid Prime 4? I ask that question all the time. Nobody can really give me an answer for it. They might say, oh, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Funky Kong Edition. Get out of here. Get out of here. That game probably took a weekend to bring over, and it probably took 2 weeks to put Funky Kong in the game. But then I get my tinfoil hat out. Then I get a little crazy. Then I get a little out there. Could Nintendo still do these games in 2022? You know, it is only September. There's still some time left in this year. Could they come along in a couple weeks and do like a mini little thing with like, oh, GameCube comes to the Nintendo Switch, and they show off F-Zero, Metroid Prime, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and they're like, you know, 3 of these games are available this holiday season as complimentary titles. F-Zero comes out in early 2023. I mean, they could. But at this point, I've pretty much lost all faith. As heartbreaking as that is for me to say, I've pretty much lost all faith in these games. And that's not because the leakers were necessarily wrong, but they were fed incorrect information or information changed, or, you know, it's hard to say with this, but I don't know. Maybe they really did never exist. Maybe this is just something that we manifested as fans because it makes sense. And yes, there is sort of information out there that sort of coincides with this. The fact that Nintendo says that they wanted to release a Zelda game every year. There's 2 Zelda games that are already available in HD, but they're not doing anything with it. The fact that we know that Retro has been working on something beyond Metroid Prime 4 that was supposedly finished up in 2021, but we've never heard from it. Or maybe it's all just a big coincidence. You know, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to feel. So that's where I'm going to throw the ball to you guys. Do you think that these games ever existed? Do you think that they're just manifested from what makes sense from a business perspective and what makes sense from a consumer perspective? Or do you think that they are real and that we are going to see maybe one of them this year and then maybe some of them come out early next year? I don't know, man. I don't know. Where have all the GameCube games gone? Give me your thoughts and feedback in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell notification as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.